It's week 34, and we are on day 4. So now we go back to the text found in Jeremiah chapters 45 through 48. And we get a different perspective. Now, what we see is a narrative. This is not Jeremiah writing, but rather a transcript, if you will, of a conversation held between God and Jeremiah's secretary. How does that work? It's sort of like the big boss coming in to your office instead of talking to you, talking to your secretary. Or if you're the secretary, talking to you instead of your boss. And what we see is this behind the scenes look. Jeremiah needed a secretary. He needed someone who could faithfully record the words that God had given to him. And Jeremiah's secretary was a gentleman by the name of Baruch. Now, Baruch was just as devastated, and he probably wept as along with Jeremiah at the destruction of their nation. But God gives Baruch a very interesting message. Things are going to get worse. Now, maybe that's not the message that we were hoping for. After everything has been destroyed, the city is destroyed, the temple is destroyed, the majority of the people have been marched off into exile. God says, this isn't the worst that's coming. Things will get worse. But here's the interesting part of it. Despite this promise that things will get worse, not better, God calls Baruch and us to continue to be faithful, to be committed despite our circumstances. How many times do we look to God and say, well, if you will do this for me, then I will do this for you? That's not how this works. God defines how the relationship works. And God has defined it that we believe in God, that we have faith in God, that we trust in God, and that we do God's will. Our circumstances may get better, they may get worse, but we are called to be constant in our faithfulness to God. The story then also continues in these chapters of Jeremiah of prophecies against the nations that surrounded Judah, including Egypt, Philistia, Moab. They are not immune from God's judgment. In fact, they will have devastating consequences because of their failure to be obedient and to follow the one true God, and also for their failure to stand up for their neighbors, the Jews. And so we too need to look at where are we? When we see others who are being oppressed, do we stand up for them? Do we act as those who are calling for justice for everybody in the world? Or are we only on the lookout for number one? And which do you think God would prefer of us?